Have you ever just stopped and thought about how massive the universe is? And then looked at your own life and felt a huge disconnect? Well, today we're going to dive into some ancient Indian wisdom that actually builds a bridge between those two things. From the birth of the entire cosmos, right down to finding peace in your own mind. So let's start with a really big question. How does the epic story of stars and galaxies and cosmic creation have anything to do with our day-to-day stress, the tough choices we have to make, or that feeling of just wanting some quiet inside our own heads? It might seem like a huge leap, but believe it or not, these texts draw a direct line. And here's how we're going to trace that line. We'll start with the biggest picture possible, the creation story. Then we'll see how order was set up on Earth. From there, we'll zoom right into a single person's intense personal crisis, look at the ways to get through it, and finally land on what it means to reach a state of real, unshakable peace.
All right, let's get into it. Our story starts, and I mean this literally, at the beginning of everything. We're looking at a foundational text, the Brahma Purana, to get a sense of how the cosmos was thought to have come into being.
So, according to the texts, it all kicks off with this figure, Swayambhu Brahma. Now, that name itself means self-born, which is a really key idea here. It suggests that creation isn't some random accident. It's an intentional act emerging from a single source that then takes the form of Brahma to, start building the universe. So, just picture this, an endless primordial ocean. Nothing else. Then a seed, just pure potential, is placed in the water. This seed grows into a huge, glowing, golden egg. And from inside that cosmic egg, the creator, Brahma, is born. You can already see it's not about chaos, right? It's a very deliberate, step-by-step process. And as soon as he's born, Brahma gets right to work. He cracks open that golden eggshell, using one half to form the heavens and the other half to form the earth. And then, in that space between them, he establishes the very building blocks of our reality. Things like time, direction, our minds, our ability to speak, and our senses. Order coming from one single point. Okay, so we've got order in the cosmos, but how does that translate to life down here on Earth? Well, this brings us to a super important concept called Dharma. The easiest way to think of Dharma is like an underlying cosmic and social order. It's not just a set of rules, it's the right way of living that makes sure society actually works. And there's this amazing story that really gets this idea across. The story of King Prithu. When he became king, he found his kingdom was in a total crisis. The earth, which is shown here as a cow, had just stopped providing. The fields were barren, people were starving, the whole system was broken. So what does Prithu do? He doesn't just try to force the issue. He gets it. He understands he has to restore balance. The earth tells him, look, to give milk, a cow needs a calf. So Prithu helps create the conditions for that to happen, allowing all different kinds of beings to milk the earth and get what they need. He basically turns total chaos back into a thriving, organized society, all through righteous action. But, and this is where it gets really interesting, that very same idea of duty, of Dharma, can sometimes become the cause of our biggest internal struggles. So now we're going to shift from the huge scale of kings and planets down to the inner battlefield of a single person. And this is Arjuna. He's an incredible warrior, standing on the edge of the most important battle of his life. But when he looks out at the army he's supposed to fight, he doesn't just see enemies. He sees his own family, his cousins, his beloved teachers. His duty, his dharma as a warrior, screams at him to fight. But his heart is telling him this is a terrible, terrible thing to do. And he's just frozen. And that's his desperate plea to his guide, Krishna. Forget the cosmic scale for a minute. This is just so profoundly human. It's the voice of anyone at any point in history who's felt completely lost and confused, just asking, what is the right thing for me to do right now? So Krishna's answer to Arjuna's crisis is really the heart of the Bhagavad Gita. And he doesn't give a simple yes or no. Instead, he lays out these two fundamental paths you can take to find clarity and purpose when you're facing an impossible choice. Let's take a look. So the idea is, there's not just one way to find the truth. On one side, you've got Sankhya Yoga, the path of knowledge. This is for the person who likes to think, to study, to reflect. But on the other side, you've got Karma Yoga, the path of action, and this is for the person who is out there living and working in the world. For Arjuna, a man of action, Krishna points him toward Karma Yoga,
And this is really the core of it all. He says, do your duty, act. But, and this is the absolute key, do it without being attached to the results. Fight because it is your duty, not because you're desperate to win or terrified to lose. And that is the freedom this path leads to. When you're not constantly driven by what you'll get out of something, you become liberated. Your actions aren't fueled by ego or fear anymore. You just do what needs to be done, for its own sake, for the good of the system. Kind of like King Prithu did.
So you might be asking, what's the end goal here? If you act without being obsessed with the outcome, what do you actually get? Well, the answer isn't about winning or losing the battle. It's about achieving this deep, profound state of inner peace that just doesn't get rattled, no matter what's happening outside. And to explain the state of mind, the text uses this absolutely beautiful and powerful analogy. It asks us to just think about the ocean for a second.
I mean, that just says it all, doesn't it? Think about it. All your experiences, your desires, your joys, your sorrows, they're like rivers. For most of us, when a big river comes in, it causes a flood. We get overwhelmed. But for a person who's found this peace, all those rivers just flow into them. And like the ocean, they absorb it all without being disturbed. They have depth. They remain stable. And this is what that person is like. They aren't emotionless robots. No, they still feel heat and cold. They feel joy and sorrow. The difference is those things don't throw them off balance. Their sense of peace comes from a much deeper place, from wisdom and a disciplined mind, not from what's happening to them moment to moment.
So we've really come full circle, haven't we? We started with a perfectly ordered universe coming from a single source. We saw how right action can create an ordered society. And we've landed on the individual's path to creating that exact same kind of unshakable order inside their own mind. Which leaves us with a pretty challenging question for our own lives. In today's world, which is so driven by results, by getting ahead, by getting the promotion, is it even possible to practice this idea of acting without attachment? To just do good work for the sake of the work itself? It's a tough one, but maybe an idea we need now more than ever. Thanks for joining me.